I have no clue what's going on right now in TFT, and this is just one giant mess. This is just one giant mess. Thank God for Mindful One. One person that's trying to make sense of the madness. Apparently, Mindful One did a breakdown of how the system actually works. So let's go ahead and read that. I want to make sure I don't miss out on the next scrim real quick. So here is how the power system works. Keep scrolling and click jump to the hidden rule. So there's weights, there's commons, there's stacking, there's level 3+, so on and so forth. Wait, there's an explorer? How to use the explorer. Search, scroll and search for a champion. Okay. Which will show up their powers listed up in the main. Let's go Janna. Let's say I want Janna with veteran. Use the stage, level, and traits filter button to reveal odds for each available power-up on the selected champion. Odds are per shop. See note below, with the max being 50% due to no repeat rule. Okay, let's say we're in stage 3 and I'm level 6. What are the odds that I can find veteran? 21 to 29%. Wait, what the heck? This is crazy. Setting traits to off simulates benching the unit's traits to avoid being offered classy or trait-specific power-ups like Star Sailor. Okay, traits off. So you want to deactivate the traits. For each listed power-up, shows all relevant tags which affects either odds or conditions to be offered by it. For each listed power, show all relevant tags, right? Wait, like, okay. Those are like weird is a tag, strategist is a tag, stage 3+ is a tag. Hover or click on a power-up name to show its details in the right pane. Okay. Hover over tags like weight and common and see what they mean. Weight 10, relative probability, higher is more likely. The system avoids offering 3 commons in the same shop. Okay. I didn't know that. Pane 3, hidden on mobile and small windows, shows the selected power-ups effects on which champions can appear as well as a range of the power-ups. Okay, that makes sense. Click on a champion's icon to switch it to the main pane. All right. Odds shown are calculated using model based on data gathered from in-game testing and our understanding of how the system works. Since it's practically impossible to get enough data for each champion in each scenario, we cannot guarantee accuracy, but are confident this model is a big step forward. Odds shown are the long-term probability per shop. They should not be used to estimate the odds from shop to shop. You can use the rules below to calculate the odds of specific scenarios. Oh my goodness, man. Oh my goodness. This is so elaborate. There's 10 simple rules of the power-up system. 1, no repeats between consecutive shops for the same champion. 2, cannot offer duplicates in the same shop. Okay, so you can't get the same ones from the previous one. You cannot get offered duplicates in the same shop. That makes sense. You can't get offered 2 veterans. Slots 1 and 2 are always primary, and slot 3 can be primary or secondary. So primary means these ones, right? When they're categorized as primary. And to make it even more complicated, there's common primary for some champions, and there's ones that are just like specifically not common. But you have to get a common slot in the first one. But but slot 3 can be primary or secondary. Which is why if you're fishing for something like veteran on Janna, it can feel so rare because it's only secondary, and that only can go in slot 3. Slots 1 and 2 have to be primary. Okay, I'm learning here. Avoid triple common shops if possible. As in like the system will. Okay. 10 simple rules. I'm on rule 4 and I'm like trying to keep up. Maybe I should actually just like read this fully and then actually slice this into a YouTube video so people can understand. Every power-up shop system revealed. 10 tips. Although it's like brought to you by LittleBuddy. LittleBuddybot.com. Mindful One. Thank God he does all the research and actually posts it for free. And also it does a bunch of other system stuff like encounter odds. If you're ever wondering like what treasure hunt can give, 9 lives, right? All these augments, crystal gambit loot. It's just so much. So it's basically the wiki, the TFT wiki in terms of like, I wonder what I could get with X. Basically the LittleBuddybot.com. All right, let's move on. Weight is relative, higher is more likely. That makes sense. If something is 5 weight versus 10 weight versus 20 weight, like Heart of Gold, for example, higher means more likely. We know that already. Cannot offer more than one of each per shop. Multiple stacking weird and trait tags. Okay, which means that basically if it has an additional tag, it's unique. So it can't offer classy and max arcana because they're both of the same type, if I'm understanding that correctly. So like, let's say, what's another champion that like might have a lot? Let's go with Kale, right? She can offer over 9,000 and max speed. Is that true, actually? I feel like I've seen that. But that is interesting if that is true. Cannot be offered a power-up that's already active on your team unless it has a multiple tag. Cannot offer a power-up that's already on your team, right? So if someone has Sky Piercer If someone has Sky Piercer, you cannot get Sky Piercer. That is also true. We knew that. You can't get 2 of the same thing, especially because it says 1. Looks at your current board, can bench traits to reduce pool. That is something we've kind of come into recent knowledge of. If you guys didn't know that, if you can't get Star Sailor for Star Guardian, for example, if you bench your units. So I'll just take Ari, for example. Star Sailor says you must have Star Guardian in, just like the classy requires Strategist. So you can bench your current board to reduce 1 pool. Now it affects small percentages, but it's not guaranteed, but you can definitely dodge 1. Duplicate entries of the same power up in the champions list do not increase odds. Duplicate entries of the same power up in the champions do not increase odds. Okay. What does that even mean? Duplicate entries of the same power up? So like some champions have duplicate entries? I'm not sure if I understand. All right. And then list order matters. Boost effects at the end of each list. Wait. The list order matters? So like the probability, like the weight of what is listed in what order actually matters. So like mage
I'm getting
on the end. So
again.
like boost effects at the end of each list. So at the end of each list, the odds increase. Is that why these percentages are like higher at the end, I suppose? I mean, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm looking at it right now and it looks like the numbers at the end tend to be bigger than the ones in the middle. I'm trying to, I'm not that good at math. I studied math in college and I was not very good at it. How are these 10 simple rules? And then we go on to explain all these rules in essay format. What we know from the game files, as shown by the Explorer, each champion has ordered lists marking primary and secondary, showing that power-ups can be offered to them. Each power-up has different values for weight, minimum level, max level, min stage, max stage, trait active, trait level, min player HP, max player HP, multiple common stacking, and weird to determine the conditions of what can be offered. There are also going to be more tags such as duo and roll, but they do not seem to be effective odds being offered, right? So this is just explaining like what we already know. Rule 1 and 2, the unbreakable rules. Okay, so these are the only things that are like codified. The no repeats and no duplicate rules are straightforward, limiting the available pool of each slot. However, their inflexibility means that they are the main cause of the bugs where less than 3 options can be offered, even 0. Oh, that explains the other thing that we saw. Let me actually see if I can open up the tab. Because I think I was going through it. Someone actually posted that they got less than 2 options. Where was it? I actually was going through this as well. Give me a sec. Someone was actually posting that they got less than 2 options on their fruits. This. Look, they were actually getting less than 2. They were getting less than 3 options, and then they got 1 option. So that actually is within the rules. That's so weird. When a champion's pool of available power-ups is small, like stage 3 Shen Hero only has 5 available, the previous shot with 3 options forces the next one in a situation where it's impossible to fill every slot with. That's literally what happened, actually. This guy was playing the Shen Hero augment. This is the little Aron under it, can tell you. Also, Twilight of the Soul. The shops are filled 1 by 1 from slots 1 to 3, checking the rules at each step. If it hits a slot that cannot be filled, the shop offers only the previously validated slots. If there's only 1 primary left in the pool for the shop, it'll appear in slot 1, but slots 2 and 3 do not appear. Even if there are valid secondary options for slot 3, if there are no available primaries options for that shop, 0 slots appear. Okay, so just basically, if it checks it on a per slot basis as opposed to roll all 3. So they're just explaining it more. Primary versus secondary list. Every champion's primary and second lists are different. Power-ups can be primary on some champions, but secondary on others. Primaries are meant to be more common and takeable in most scenarios, while secondaries are more niche. Since patch 5.5, slots 1 and 2 can only offer power-ups from a unit's primary list. Slot 3 draws from available power-ups in the primary and secondary list. So slot 3 isn't only just secondary. Slot 3 can also be all primaries as well. Previously, this 2 primary setup was only true for tank classes. This is why Socialite can only be offered on Aatrox's 3rd slot, right? I remember that. All other classes were guaranteed 1 primary slot, and there's no evidence of odds manipulation for primary versus secondary in slot 3. And this is groundbreaking stuff. Common versus uncommon. This is a similar idea to primary and secondary, except so even within primary and secondary, there's common versus uncommon. This system is so complicated. You'll be offered mostly commons primarily due to the fact that most power-ups are common, but it would be boring to get too many commons, so the system tries to always offer at least one uncommon, artificially reducing the rate of triple common shops. It's still possible, but it's much rarer. We think that if one slots are commons, then slot 3 is rerolled up to a certain number of times to try and hit an uncommon. That slot, the reroll limit is reached, where there's no uncommon ones left in the pool. A triple common shop is offered. Somewhat ironically, the overall result is that uncommons are actually more common than the corresponding common when looking at individual appearance rates. And then they post some proof. For example, from stage 3 onwards, Xin Zhao's available primary pool is entirely common. If our theory is correct, then the last slot must always be secondary and uncommon, and our data 100% aligns with this. Inner Fire and Singularity, the most secondary commons are never offered. In this Explorer, we have shown nominal odds of 0.5 that offer that still theoretically possible to get these from maxing out the reroll limits. Okay, so they did the math. Worth the weight? Weight is the relative probability of drawing one power-up relative to other. The weights are currently used as 5, 10, 15, 20. In a vacuum, power with weight 20 has double the odds of appearing compared to weight 10. However, in practice, this doesn't often happen due to the other rules. Right. So if something is weight 20, sometimes primary, secondary, common, uncommon, exclusive typing, like multiple stacking weird, are exclusive to each other. And the fact that the first 2 slots have to be primary versus secondary. So weight actually is kind of a fake influence, although it's not really. It definitely does help. But then there's unique tags. Powers with multiple stacking weird or trait tags are once per shop limit. You can only be offered 1 stacking and 1 weird in the same shop, but you cannot be offered 2 stacking in the same shop. The only trait powers affected by this rule are Mech Pilot and Robo Ranger. So there's exceptions to the rules. Oh no. So these are the only ones that are affected by it. Multiple mean that you can have more than 1 champion from the same power up on your team at the same time, like fan service. Not all powers have been tagged as you might expect. Like Hat Trick doesn't have stacking. Right, because that would be too simple. There's ways to thin the pool. You cannot be offered a power-up that's already active on on traits, right? That makes sense. So if you already have Sky Piercer, you can't get offered it twice. If you currently have Drift Duo active on Lucian, you cannot get Drift Duo on your other one on Senna. That makes sense. If your APM is good and you can spare 2 power snacks, you can use this rule to exclude an unwanted power-up, such as benching things, okay? If you want to exclude Ramping Rage on Jinx, you can first cycle your power snacks until you hit it on a helper unit before you use it on a second power snacks. That's too crazy. So if you want to exclude one, you basically buy your shop and try to use the fruit on a champion that you don't want the power up on. All to just remove one option from the pool. This rule mainly applies to classy and trait power-ups like Star Sailor. You can bench units of your target to exclude these power-ups. Classy can only be offered as a silver tier trait. That makes sense. It's been suggested that powers with anti-heal and transcender effects should be automatically excluded if you already have items. Wait a second. Oh, they're debunking the rumor. They're saying that that is not true. Duplicate entries of primary, secondary. Some champions have duplicate power-ups in their primary, secondary lists, according to the Explorer. And they're just basically saying that these entries are kept. And then finally, are certain power-ups odds boosted? Since PB, some players have noticed that some power-ups seem to be offered much more often than expected, like Socialite on Aatrox. That was very true. I felt like I never missed on that. This boost effect was fairly consistent in data across champions, applying many to power-ups at the end of primary and secondary lists. Our data suggests that both the last strong boost and second to last weak boost valid entries in the primary and secondary list are boosted. But since the weak boost is smaller, it may not actually exist, and just due to sample sizes. In the Explorer, look at Stage 1 Ezreal. His last secondary weight are 10 and common, but we think that the Final Form receives a strong boost, and Fairy Tail gets a weak boost compared to Sky Piercer. On Stage 3, Final Form is no longer available, so Fairy 2 becomes the last valid and receives a strong boost, and Sky Piercer gets a weird boost. Okay, so look at Ezreal, and they're just to show the reference. So on Stage 2, these are the boosted odds, Fairy Tail and Final Form. But then on Stage 3, you can't get Final Form, so Fairy Tail becomes more common. It jumps up by 1%. This rule is the most uncertain in our model, partly because we don't know why it occurs. The Explorer uses boost amounts that best fit our data. I mean, it's probably because it thinks have to add up to 100, so if something gets excluded, it might seem like a boost, but I'm not sure why the last one specifically gets boosted. Conclusion, the 10 rules are easy to understand. All right, I'm not sure if I agree there, but it is difficult for players to gauge actual odds after considering all the interaction, which is why we created the Explorer. There's enough info in the Explorer, and this page is for you to develop your own models if you have a different understanding of the system, or you are a budding game designer. That is true. I think the most useful thing out of this is if you also want to design your own game systems. But there's no way in hell that I can come to the same conclusion that this is simple to understand. So you know what? I've decided. 1, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and rip the fruit and do my best to try and like follow the general rule of like take out Star Guardians if I want to remove Star Sailor. I'm vibes based now. Forget like manipulating odds for the rest of this set. Who cares? Just screw the rules. I'm just gonna go ahead and rip the fruit. And second of all, can we just like not do this crazy elaborate system anymore? I feel like not only is this opaque and impossible to understand, it's also, I feel like, causing so many bugs and problems. It's cool. In a vacuum, if it worked and executed the way we wanted to, it'd be great. If this was like an evergreen system that we could tweak and it lived for years on, I'm sure the final version of this, if TFT kept this mechanic for years and we refined it and it actually was well done, it's like I said, I actually said this before. I would say that if TFT were to stop development, it became in maintenance mode, and we had the last set ever of TFT was made, and all they would do is like make sure that all the quality assurance of the system would exist. I think Fruits is a good one to end on, so to speak, because theoretically it's something that could create, like, I think that it could create way more metas if they don't even touch the game because of all the different things that you can discover with it. But the system is just, it's too much for the amount of time that we have, for how little we understand it, for how bad of an experience we've been getting for this set because of it. It's a really cool idea, and honestly, it fits like the theme well, and I think that Riot tried to really cook with this, but there is such thing as overcooking. Where's the overcooking exploding cat gif? So someone has that one, right? Where's the cat explosion gif one? Hit me with it. Is it this one? Boom. That is this set in a nutshell. I mean, it's it's a cute little cat and then giant explosion, because I don't know what the hell this nonsense is. Either way, I hope this helped you understand it a little bit more. But man, we need to cook a little less here. Way too dank.